It's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to a new album review. Well, it's a new album, but it's not new music. It's a live album from Steve Hackett, and it is Foxtrot at 50 and Hackett highlights live in Brighton. And it was recorded last year during their UK tour to celebrate Foxtrot being 50 years old, which totally blows you away. Thing about that, I started school in 1972. So I started school 50 years ago. Or 51 now. God, dear oh me. And this was released on the 15th of December. It's a DVD as well, so one day we'll have a look at that. So who plays on here? Well, the band's been pretty solid. His touring band for many, many years. You've got Steve Hackett as ever on the guitars. On the keyboards, Mr. Roger King, that's been in with Steve Hackett since day one. They've got a new bass player now that plays with them. He's had Lee Pomeroy in the past. Now we've got Jonas Reingold, who's from Sweden. As ever on saxophones, flutes and anything like that, Rob Townsend, another guy that's been with the touring band forever. Gary O'Toole has now left the touring band. I mean, he was great on the drums, but who does he bring in? He brings in Craig Blundell, who's drummed with everyone from Steve Wilson to Frost, Lonely Robot. He's worked with Keno and Fish. A great drummer, and on vocals, one of the most versatile singers of Genesis songs. He can sing like Peter and he can sing like Phil, and it's the brilliant Nad Sylvan. And we have Amanda Lehman comes on and does guitars on vocals, and I wonder what track she does for that. So the first part of it is just some of them great songs, some Hackett's solo stuff. So you start off with Ace of Wands from the Voyage of the Acolyte. I love that track, and it still sounds as good as it did in the day. Then we have something off his latest sort of rock album, The Devil's Cathedral, which is one of my favourite tracks off that album, and it sounds great live. Great track. Then we go to a classic, and it still sounds good as ever. We get Spectral Mornings, which is brilliant, and then they throw in Every Day as well, so you get two tracks off the Spectral Mornings album. Very, very good. Then we get a tower struck down from the Voyage of the Acolyte. Fantastic. Then we get Basic Instincts. Camino Royale from Highly Strung, another good track, and I've always liked that live. It's really good. And then, of course, the most wonderful track that Steve Hackett has done as a solo artist, The Shadow of the Hierophant. A beautiful song, and that's where Amanda Lehman comes in and sings that lovely song. The ending of this just still brings the hairs on my back up. I mean, I love that little, I always talked about this, but I can't stop talking about this song. I love it when you got that little musical box sort of sequence, and then the guitars come in, the bass pedals. Wow. Absolutely mind-blowing. So then they all went off and said, bye-bye, we'll see you in a minute, we're going to have a cup of tea. And the next part of it opens up with that wonderful Mellotron. And Roger King plays it as good as Steve Hackett. Tony Banks even. That's absolutely brilliant. Watcher of the Skies, in its glory. Nad sings it as good as Peter. It's brilliant. Then we go into Timetable, which you don't get to hear live very often. And absolutely brilliant. I do like that. Then we go into a bit of Get Them Out by Friday. Great live. Nad sings it brilliantly, and he gets really into the track. He does all the characteristics that Peter did when he sang this live. Really good. Then we have the Kang Utility and the Coastliners, which is one of them songs off this Foxtrot album that gets forgotten about. I love it. I love all the quirky keyboard bits in this. And then we flip it over to side 2 in the old days, and we get that lovely little piece called Horizons. Before we go into the greatest song ever written, Supper's Ready, still powerful today as it was in 1972. They're not finished there because they go into probably the second greatest track, the Firth of Fifth, and that guitar solo is still brilliant. Every time I hear it from Steve, it just blows me away. I just love that. And then they do their sort of version of Lost Endos. As usual, Steve Hackett puts on a dynamite show. I mean, I tried to get tickets because they played here in Northampton, and they were sold out within 2 hours. Unbelievable. But again, it's just great playing. They're great musicians. You know, Rob, Roger, and Steve have been playing together for ages. Nad's been singing him for a long time. They've got this off to a T now, and I think this is and what I like about it, they're playing these great Genesis songs, so we'll never forget them, and it's the best thing we're going to get now for a Genesis. It's Steve that's continuing that legacy on of the great old songs. Absolutely brilliant album. It's a 10 out of 10 album all the time. Every time they put out a live album, these live albums from Steve Hackett are brilliant. So yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Always will be, I think, because I love it. I mean, I wonder what album he'll do next of the Genesis of the older albums that he played on. You know, one day he might even do the whole of. We're coming up to the 50th anniversary next year of The Lamb. I wonder if he dares out and goes and plays it all. It'd be great if he did. That's one for watching. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle now. Okay, that's all for today. I am back tomorrow. It's a Saturday, so you know who's with me tomorrow. It's my good friend Mr. Richard McCook, and we've got an interesting one for you tomorrow. It's bad songs on good albums. Basically, you've got a great album, and then it's got the clanger on it. You go, oh, what's that doing there? That does not belong on this album. Why is it here? So we've got doing our top 10 and the usual bubbling unders. A lot of fun. I know everyone loves our little shows, so looking forward to that. So have a great day. I'm off to see Francis Rossi in Conversation and a bit of guitar tonight. I will tell you all about it next week on the live stream. So bye for now.